Today's movie is Crash. This is a strange movie, but it's a good one. It is directed by David Cronenberg, starring James Spader. Basically, what it's about, it is kind of about this underground movement of people, basically, where uh, they can only achieve sexual arousal through car accidents and deformities through car accidents, and it is kind of a daring movie because you don't see too many movies that explore sexuality and kind of fetishes in this like deeply psychological and cerebral way. Like the kind of the thing about the movie is that the car crash, they could be anything basically, and that's kind of the whole point of the James Spader character. Where he's always looking for the next thing. So it is a daring movie, and it's again true Cronenberg fashion. It's very strange, but it's a good movie. I think it's very very interesting. And wait, no, oh wait, what's this one? Oh, sorry, I got the wrong movie. This one's the Paul Haggis crash. What's this one about? Oh, racism. Yeah. Okay, Crash. 2005 winner of Best Picture. Okay, here's the deal. I mean, I know it's trendy to shit all over this movie. Basically, I know there's a whole bandwagon that says, "Oh, worst Best Picture winner ever." But whatever. I mean, if you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. What are you gonna do? This movie, I've seen this about maybe 5, 6 times or so. Each time I watch it, to be honest, I do like it a little less and less, and I find it a little. With each time, I kind of feel that its flaws show, and how it's not really that good. Basically, I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's a very well made movie. It is a smaller movie. It's independent, but has a great cast. Of course, you got Don Cheadle, you got Matt Dillon, you got Terrence Howard, Tandy Newton, Sandra Bullock, Brendan Fraser, Michael Pena. The list goes on and on and on of the great actors in this movie, and they give for what it's worth, good performances all around. Movie itself, I mean, Paul Haggis he wrote and directed it, and you can kind of tell. That he does have this ear as a writer, like how he listens to the world around him, like the conversations based on racial issues and conflicts. You can tell that they are pretty much real, like it's something that he might have overheard in traffic or in a store. Maybe not necessarily directly was affected by them, but I do know that I think the story goes that one day, early on in his career, he was carjacked, and that kind of stemmed his idea to make this movie, basically. So there is a truth to Crash and its conversations with the characters, somewhat, but kind of the way he weaves them together is my main issue with the movie. It's woven together in a way that single scenes they all are meant to connect and make this big grand opera, basically. It is a melodrama, and it's the main thing about the movie. I mean, aside from some pretty short-sighted views on racism, it's the drama of the movie that I take kind of not offense to, but just take issue with, basically. Because it's one of those movies where it's like everything's connected. There's all these coincidences, and I've just seen it done better in other movies. I mean, name a movie like this, and it's much better. Like Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia or Steven Soderbergh's Traffic. I won't even equate this to Robert Altman's work, but basically, I mean, the movie itself, I mean, because it does focus very much on, very specifically about racism in general and in specific, in this broad kind of way, it kind of doesn't amount to much when you bring all the drama together of it. because it does have to kind of do these hurdles. It has to jump from character to character, and of course, because there's so many balls in the air, you can't really give every character the attention that maybe they should be getting. And a lot of people, they praise the movie for that, for getting the bullet points of the characters so succinctly and efficiently, and move on to the next one and connect it in such a way. But I don't buy it. The characters are very much caricatures, and again, people excuse the movie. They say they're supposed to be, but I don't know. I just don't buy it. I mean, essentially, since every character has their own view on racism, and almost every scene is centered specifically on racism. Whether they have a view on a certain race or what have you, and they make their opinion known. And some scenes work better than others. I mean, basically, there is that great scene with Ryan Phillippe and Keith David. Keith David playing the police sergeant in charge of the Los Angeles police department, where basically kind of what one of the main plot points of the movie is Matt Dillon, of course, is a racist cop, and Ryan Phillippe is not, or is he? I don't know. And he wants to transfer, and there's this great monologue by David, who kind of sarcastically and exhaustedly, like he's heard it all before, kind of explaining, yeah, sure, let's take down this corrupt system, buddy, like that. And I think that's, a scene like that is brilliant. And certain scenes just stand alone so well. But when they connect them, you feel like maybe there are too many characters, like, because they have to connect in certain ways, and they have to give pretty much each racial characteristic their own kind of space in the movie. It doesn't quite work well. I mean, there's obviously the Brendan Fraser and Sandra Bullock characters in the movie. They get hijacked by Chris Ludacris Bridges in the movie, and his partner, and they get the locks changed on the door. And of course, Sandra Bullock shaken and untrusting of every other race except for white. Michael Pena is the locksmith who installs the locks, and she takes one look at him and makes her judgment. Meanwhile, of course, this character goes home. He's the loving father. His daughter is basically Hispanic Dakota Fanning, cute actressy little girl, just bleh. And that's his character. That's it. And that's kind of too short-sighted, I think, because the movie, I mean, essentially, the dilemma of the movie is that it does kind of not so much explain racism, but kind of display it, show each character's kind of opinion on it, and kind of their own experiences. It doesn't mean to explain why racism exists in these days, and what we can do to solve it. It's thankfully not that ambitious or lectury or preachy. And kind of what it boils down to is, maybe when someone acts out in a racially insensitive way, it's not necessarily how they feel about a certain race, but kind of a reflection on their own life. Like with the Matt Dillon character, how he berates the HMO representative because he's upset about his father having health issues, and that stuff is good. But like, just the way, I don't know, it connects everything isn't satisfying to me, because it does ultimately feel kind of lectury about racism. Like, it doesn't boil down to much other than we have good and bad within us all, really. But hey, let's keep trying, I guess. I don't know. And of course, there's coincidence after coincidence. The Matt Dillon and Ryan Phillippe characters who pull over, and how Matt Damon molests Tandy Newton's character, and her husband, played by Terrence Howard, has to watch on the sidelines and just be humiliated by it. Of course, they run into each other again, Matt Dillon, and again, that's a great scene where Matt Dillon runs into Tandy Newton again. Fate brought them back together, and he has to save her from the car wreck, which was a great scene. Then they kind of overdo it, where it's like, okay, Now, Ryan Phillippe's character runs into Terrence Howard, and he has to save them. Isn't it a crazy coincidence? And like, are they the only two beat cops in all of Los Angeles? I mean, obviously, I mean, it is of course supposed to be a written movie. There's supposed to be, you know, caricatures. It's supposed to be about coincidence. I mean, this isn't supposed to be a hyper-realistic movie, sort of. Like, it's not aiming for that, I guess. But I don't know. And just kind of what it amounts to with certain characters. Of course, the Ryan Phillippe character, he runs into the other carjacker who, you know, he gives him a ride one night, and, you know, he's supposed to be this righteous character, and, you know, he kind of spends 30 seconds in the car with that guy, and he's like, you know what, you're not being this complete black stereotype. Something's off here. I think you're making fun of me, because he like talks about liking ice skating, liking country music, because obviously that doesn't fit the stereotype. And then he reaches into his pocket for the St. Christopher emblem, because it's like, oh hey, I have one of those. What a coincidence! I'm gonna take this out. Bam! Ryan Phillippe shoots him, because obviously that's, you know, his instinct as a cop to do that. So you're supposed to think of the grand irony in it, that his righteousness only is based within a certain, I don't know, helping white man kind of way. I don't know. And essentially, like, the movie, like, Ryan Phillippe gets away with murder, and that's the moral of the story. Good for him. And Ludacris, you know, when he steals the van, it turns out it's full of Koreans immigrating, and we're supposed to think, oh wow, what a change to this character, because he didn't want to sell humans. What a righteous thing to do. What good he has in him. And don't even get me started on the Sandra Bullock character, who has the worst line in the movie. This movie won an Oscar for its screenplay. One of her lines on the phone with one of her friends is, "I'm angry all the time and I don't know why." So, I don't know. And there's that horribly over-dramatic scene where she slips down the stairs. Movie, again, kind of smaller budget, so I guess they couldn't afford a stunt double for Sandra Bullock, so you just see like the close-up of her foot. And then it goes in slow motion, and like the horribly dramatic. It's like almost like Hans Zimmer Gladiator music plays, like or whatever. And she's like, oh, and then she falls down the stairs, and her maid helps her, and I guess her realization, her character's arc is that, hey, my Mexican maid is my best friend. So I don't know, maybe a little driving Miss Daisy moment. But I don't buy that. It's just so stupid. I think. And I don't know, it is mainly the drama of the movie, because standalone scenes in this movie are very good, but what it all amounts to is kind of just too much and not enough. I don't know, it's a hard movie to describe. You know, I feel kind of the movie in so many ways is talking down to the audience, like as if, you know, I'm sorry, this white guy has, you know, any, you know, stake in what racism means to everybody of a certain race. Essentially, this movie shouldn't exist, because unless it's multi-directors, which would be interesting if, you know, you got a whole bunch of directors of different races directing certain segments and kind of putting it all together, I think, you know. But, you know, as racism, as its, you know, main plot, its main theme, basically, I don't think it works. And, you know, maybe if it were something more in tune to like Magnolia, because Magnolia does have a similar kind of framework to it, where coincidence brings everyone together, but its concept is a lot broader. So each character has their own kind of themes. It would have been interesting if maybe, you know, racism connected only certain characters. Like definitely the Matt Dillon character. I think that was obviously one of the stemming characters of this story. Where he is, you know, the racial profiler, he is the racist prick, basically, who kind of learns his lesson about humanity, I guess, by saving Tandy Newton from the crash. And, you know, his character is good. Matt Dillon gives a great performance. He was the only member of the cast who was nominated for an Oscar. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which I think was definitely a good call. I mean, definitely a great performance. But then, like, with that character, and you can kind of tell which characters, you know, stem the movie, and other characters, like, you know, the Iranian shop owner who buys the gun, who shoots Michael Pena's daughter, but doesn't really, because they're blanks, and it's supposed to be this, amazing scene. He wants to shoot Michael Pena just because he was negligent and didn't get his locks fixed. And once he tries to shoot and doesn't shoot the daughter, he thinks he does, but he actually doesn't. He is redeemed somehow. It's very, very simple and very, very kind of trite. And I don't know, but like you can tell, kind of the characters who aren't like what weren't like the main characters stemmed from the original plot. So maybe if it wasn't all about basically racism, the movie, maybe it would have been better. Maybe if it was a little bit longer, took more time with the characters. Again, I know people praise it just for that, for getting through the story so quickly and effectively telling the story so quickly. But genuine characters are lost in the mix. There's no characters that feel, like they're anything other than these, vessels to convey the message, of the racist mission statement of the movie, or the racial mission statement, not the racist mission statement of the movie. Coming Close is Matt Dillon's character, and Don Cheadle's character. The whole backstory or side story with his mom as a heroin addict, I thought that worked effectively. He's really, really good in his role. I don't know, but on the whole, I just think this movie, it's just too melodramatic and too short-sighted in its kind of views on racism, I guess. I mean, any other movie that year, I think was better, like Brokeback Mountain, of course, and kind of the thing about it was people kind of felt that Brokeback Mountain was the front runner, but because, maybe some of the older members of the Academy were homophobic, didn't want to give the gay cowboy movie the Oscar, and I think even, who was it, Ernest Borgnine, he pretty much just straight out said in an interview, I didn't even watch that movie, I'm not going to watch that movie, you crazy? But yeah, that's kind of okay. And like Good Night and Good Luck, I thought was much better. Capote, much better. And Munich, which was also a movie that dealt very specifically with racism and the repercussions of racism on a huge level, on a political, spiritual, philosophical level, was a much better movie and a much more mature and frank movie about it. I can't believe, that this movie won above everything else. Just kind of, I think the hype machine was, or like the hype train was on full steam ahead, whatever the expression is, just kind of overtook the Academy Awards. And even, not even the movies that year, but other movies based on racism, like Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee's brilliant film. You feel like that street is lived on. You feel like the characters, that's somebody who Spike Lee knows instead of, only listened to, so it feels like a much more sincere movie. And like the different races kind of coinciding and kind of this melting pot of this one day where everything, comes to a tremendous and turbulent end. So I like Do the Right Thing. I can't believe that wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. Meanwhile, this movie won, which is kind of wrong. I don't know. But I mean, here's like the absolute truth. What I feel. If this movie had not been so, showered upon at the Oscars, if it hadn't have gotten so many accolades, like let's say this movie won 3 Oscars. It was nominated for, I think, maybe 5 in total. Let's see how many. 6 nominations in total. If, say, it was more along the lines of the Golden Globe nominations that it got, only screenplay, only Matt Dillon, 2 nominations, that's it, no wins. I think if it weren't so showered with attention, I think people would be easier on this movie. And I think, the opinion on it would be more accurate. Because it's not the worst movie ever made. It's not. Really, I mean, sincerely. Maybe one of the lesser Best Picture winners, for sure. But, people wouldn't be on the internet on message boards saying, this movie's a piece of shit. If it hadn't been so showered with love. I think this would be more one of those movies where you look back and you're like, that was pretty good. I think more people should watch this movie. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just a mind-boggling, piece of Oscar history. Not a horrible movie, but I don't like it. I don't find it to be good, I guess, in terms of its drama. Again, certain scenes stand out really well, but what it all amounts to is kind of lectury, melodramatic opera of a movie, which doesn't quite work. Not definitely something that I can watch all the time. I've watched it a couple of times. I just watched it recently before doing this video, and I don't know, doesn't work for me. So that's pretty much my review. That's Crash. And you also got a little bonus review, my review of David Cronenberg's Crash, which is a great movie. You should check that out. So yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching.